Bruchim Abayim, Shalom. We will be beginning the book of Mishlei, and we are up to chapter 12, the book of Proverbs, Perek Yud Bet, Pasuk Aleph, the first verse in the book of Mishlei. Welcome, we're here every day, 12 to 12:20. Sorry for the delayed beginning, but here we go. Pasuk Aleph. Ohev Musar, Ohev Dat, Vesone Tochachat. If a person loves not criticism, but feedback. Musar is the word for feedback, instruction, guidance. If a person loves constructive feedback, oev musar, oev dat. That means they love knowledge. Because part of knowledge is knowing that you don't know everything. And so oev musar, oev dat. If someone loves constructive feedback, if someone loves being given advice, if someone loves being given musar, then that means that they love also knowledge. They love that. But if someone hates being rebuked, if someone hates getting feedback for what they're doing, if someone hates being told what they should be doing or how they should be doing it, then that person will remain without knowledge, without wisdom. In order to change, in order to improve, you have to always be willing to learn more and to take constructive criticism. If someone is always seeking to do good, if someone is always seeking to do God's will, then good things will come to them. But if someone is always seeking to be crooked, if someone's always seeking to change their ways, if someone's always seeking to be sort of a not forthright person, then that person is going to end up being guilty. They'll end up being considered not in a good place. Pasuk Gimel, this leads us to the next lesson, which Shlomo, by the way, repeats many times. Adam beresha. A person cannot sustain themselves with wickedness. If someone succeeds in their wickedness, it could work for a year, it could work for 2 years, it could work for 5-10 years, but ultimately it collapses. Lo yikon adam beresha. A person cannot succeed to establish themselves through wickedness, through negativity. V'shoresh tzadikim balimot. And the root of a righteous one does not collapse forever. And it's interesting that Mishnah, the rabbis in Ethics of the Fathers, in Pirkei Avot, teach that a person who does good deeds, they're like a tree with many, many roots. So if a tree has many, many roots, even if it's flimsy on the top, even if it doesn't have so much above the ground, it still stands strong. And that's exactly what it says here. Shoresh tzadikim balimot. The righteous have roots that go deep. The righteous have roots that will always stand and are always very, very strong. Pasuk Daled. A woman of valor, a good woman, she brings glory and joy to her husband. But a woman who takes the opposite path of the Eshet, she's constantly doing things she shouldn't be doing, that doesn't only cause herself embarrassment, but it also causes her husband embarrassment, as if it says as if his bones are melting away. Pasuk Hey, and this comes back to a point that Shlomo mentions often, and that is the idea that the righteous always think in a straightforward way. They're not looking to swindle, they're not looking in all kinds of different directions that might hurt someone. They're not thinking to be tricksters. They're really thinking in a pretty forthright fashion. And so he says, Machshavot tzadikim mishpat. The thoughts of the righteous are like judgment. They're always thinking in a judicious way, in a thoughtful way. Really, as they say, just straight to the point. That's how the righteous people think. They're thinking straight to the point. On the other hand, the wicked, even when the wicked are thinking, no matter what they're thinking about, they're not thinking straight. They're always thinking in a tricking way, in a conniving way. They're looking in different directions. And so that is Machshavot Tzadikim Mishpat. The thoughts of the righteous are judicious. Tachbulot Reshayim, and the tricks of the wicked are deceptive. Pasuk Vav, Divrei Reshaim Erov Dam. The words of the wicked end up causing bloodshed. And the mouth of the righteous will save them. You think of all the different pyramid schemes and the Ponzi schemes, all these different things. That's exactly what Shlomo HaMelech is talking about here. Divrei Reshaim Erov Dam. The words of the wicked ultimately cause destruction. They cause bloodshed. They cause pain. So Divrei Reshaim Erov Dam, they cause to really bloodshed. And what can save one from the words of the wicked? The words of the upright, the righteous, that will save them. Now, you may think, well, since the wicked are doing so well, they have tricks and they have ideas and they're always thinking out of the box, maybe that is the path that I should take. So King Solomon says, no, that's not the case. Pasuk Zayin, verse 7 in chapter 12 of Mishlei. Hafoch reshaim veinam, uvei tzadikim yamod. If you shake up the wicked, they are no longer there. They just disappear. They fade. Hafoch reshaim veinam, uvei tzadikim yamod. But the house of the righteous will stand. The house of the righteous will remain and stand for long after the wicked are gone. Now, how do you praise a person? How do you know which person is praiseworthy? So, sometimes you have someone who's very, very, very smart. They have they're gifted. They have a lot of knowledge. They have many teachers. They have a lot of resources and time. They do not use the time that they have. They do not study. They only use 10% of it. On the other hand, sometimes you have a guy who's a shepherd or a water carrier or a porter. He works really, really, really hard all day. He comes home, he's exhausted, and he doesn't really have much time. And yet, of the time that he has, he uses 100%, sometimes 110% of the time he has. He uses it to study, to learn, and to thrive. So who's better? The guy who learns a lot, but really it's not nearly as much as he should be? Or perhaps is it the shepherd who is, using all the time that he has, but he doesn't have much of that time and much of that ability. And so Shlomo HaMelech says, Lefi sichlo yehulal ish. A person will be praised according to his brain, according to his learning, according to his accomplishment. So if a person, no matter what, if a person put their head to something, they put an effort, they tried, Lefi sichlo yehulal ish. A person will be praised according to his mind, according to what he's doing with his brain. And the person who is with a crooked heart, even if they're very smart, they will be scorned. So the bottom line is the reward that we get, the punishment that we get, is often dependent on our judgment, on how much time we dedicated to study, on how much time we dedicated to good deeds. Yud is a very, very famous pasuk. Yodea tzadik nefesh behemto. The righteous one knows the soul of its animal. In a minute, we're going to see what the meaning of that is. Pasuk Yud. Yodea tzadik nefesh behemto v'rachamei reshaim. But the mercy of the wicked, that is actually cruelty. So the commentaries here explain, Yodea tzadik nefesh behemto. The wise man knows the soul of behemto. Behema usually means an animal, but it's usually talking about a domesticated animal, a cow, a goat, a sheep. And so Yodea tzadik nefesh behemto, he knows how to sustain the body. Some people say it's even talking about the body of a person himself. Some people say it's talking about the family. The bottom line is the tzaddik knows exactly what is needed, and he works towards that end. He wakes up in the morning, he says, okay, here's what I need to do. I need to pay my bills. I need to get lunch. I need to do this. I need to do that. He knows what is needed. However, the wicked ones, they don't look at the they don't look necessarily at the needs. Sometimes they'll have mercy and they'll toss a candy here and a candy there, but they don't really know what is needed. So sometimes, by the way, this is true with a doctor. You have a doctor and they look at the person and immediately they're looking at the patient. What does the patient need? What do they not need? And sometimes what the patient needs is not going to be fun. They know that they can't have sugar, they can't have salt, they can't have this, they can't have that. They give them a terrible meal, but that's what the person needs. On the other hand, you have someone who's foolish, who would walk into the room and give the person candy and sweets and burgers and everything, but their mercy is actually cruelty. The mercy that is done without judging things, without doing things wisely, that's actually cruelty. A righteous one knows who exactly needs what. And the wicked, even their mercy is cruel. And here we go to the next one, really beautiful pasuk. If a person works his land, works hard, he is going to be full. He'll have bread. But someone who is chasing off empty opportunities, that is someone who is heartless. Why? Because his family, people are waiting to eat, and he's chasing nonsense. So, the person who works hard, who works his land, he is going to have a full meal. He'll have bread. But the person who's chasing nonsense, not only will that person go hungry, but they're heartless. Why? Because they're going to need food. Their family is going to need food. Everyone's going to be in trouble. Therefore, the idea is it's a message about hard work. Pasuk Yudbet. Chamad rasha metzod ra'im v'shorosh tzadikim iten. A wicked one. Chamad rasha metzod ra'im v'shorosh tzadikim iten. A wicked one wants, when you look at a wicked person, what do they want? Sometimes they look to hunt others. They look to capture others. Chamad rasha metzod ra'im. The wicked doesn't despise. Now, there's to the contrary. Sometimes he'll desire it. But the righteous ones, they will have whatever they deserve because they are not looking to hurt others. When a person's lips commit a crime, meaning they say something they are not supposed to say, then that's like a stumbling block. That's going to cause a person to stumble. However, even in a situation where someone said something that was not true and caused someone trouble, then that person is going to be saved. I remember a story about a fellow in the Yom Kippur War who was on the front lines, and he was, well, no one knew that it was going to be a war, but he was standing on the front lines in Sinai, and someone called his commander. They said he's a terrible guy. He's done some terrible things. He needs to go. And so the commander sent him for evaluation, and he sent him all the way back to Jerusalem, and that's when the Yom Kippur War broke out. So, Chamad Rasha Metzod Ra'im. Sometimes the wicked try and accomplish something by means of their speech. V'shorosh tzadikim iten. Yet the roots of the righteous are rooted so well that will yield good fruit, that will yield good things. Pasuk Yud Daled, and this is such a famous verse, perhaps among non-Jews more than among Jews. Mipri pi ish yisba tov. A person will reap the fruits of what they say with their mouth. Ugmul yedei adam yashiv lo. And the rewards of a person's hands will be returned to them. The idea being, not only do we reap what we sow, which is a very famous concept, but we also reap what we say. Whatever you say is eventually going to come back to you. It's eventually going to come back to you, not necessarily in a bad way. To the contrary, here what it's saying is in a good way. It's going to give you something good. Pasuk Tetvav, Derech Evil Yashar Be'enav. What a very important pasuk. The path of a foolish one is always straight in their own eyes. How many times do you try and convince someone who is on a negative path, whether they're using opioids or smoking or doing something really bad, and they have always an answer. It's not hurting me, it's working for me, it actually helps me. Derech evil yashar be'enav. The path of a foolish person is always straight in their own eyes. It's always something that they think is very, very, very true. However, v'shomea le'etzah chacham. If a person listens to advice, that is wise. Wisdom is not to assume that you know everything. Wisdom is to be able to take advice from others, to listen to what they have to say. And that's what we're saying here. The way of the foolish one is straight in his eyes, and a person who listens to advice, that's a wise person. Next is Pasuk Tetzayin, verse 16. Evil beyom ka'aso yivadea. The foolish one, how do you tell who is foolish? The way you can tell is on the day of their wrath, on the day of their anger. Evil beyom yivada ka'aso. On the day he will his foolishness will be known. Why will his foolishness be known? Because he goes and he picks fights with people. He chooses fights with people, and people see that he has no control over himself. But someone who listens to advice, that is a wise person. So we're saying here that the wise person becomes known because he doesn't have to say anything. He doesn't tell everything. Not only does he not tell everything, but he does not pick fights, right? The foolish one, immediately, the second he has something to say, something negative, he gets into a fight. The foolish one in the day, his anger will be known. However, but if someone is covering up the shame of others, if someone decides not to fight over every single thing, not to correct every mistake, you ever go to a meeting, a dinner, a lunch, whatever it is, and someone says something that everyone recognizes as wrong. So there's two kinds of people. There's someone who just lets it go, and there's someone who makes sure to correct and get into sometimes a fight. So what it's saying here is that the foolish one, immediately, you know his anger, you know his foolishness. Someone who decides to remain silent in the face of something wrong, that is someone who's actually smart. If someone is a faithful person, they are also a just person. If someone keeps the faith and faithfulness, that person will also have justice in them. But if someone is the opposite of that, they are not faithful, they are deceitful, then that person is also going to lie in is going to lie when he has a chance. The next pasuk is just so powerful. It's so incredibly relevant that sometimes you wish you had it on a poster. It says it goes as follows. Two very, very famous psukim. Yesh boteh kemadkerot cherev. Sometimes a person can be, his words can be like a sword. They can poke someone and kill someone. Yesh boteh kemadkerot cherev. Sometimes a person's words can be as strong as the strokes of a sword, so much so that it causes him to kill. Uleshon chachamim marpeh. What can heal a person from those wounds? What can heal a person from the sword wounds of the foolish? And by that in the foolish words. The wise man is the exact opposite. His words are actually a healing. They're a medicine, and they cause people to heal. That's how the words of the wise work. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have questions, comments, feedback, please feel free to leave a comment, to share what you have to say or what you think, and I very much appreciate this. Thank you.